What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I'm Lisa,
And I'm Justine.
and this is the show that showcases the importance of music and mental health. Today, we are talking about a record that I have loved so much, and I have always talked to Justine about this record because it is my favorite Paramore record. We are talking about After Laughter. It is the one of the most underrated records they have, I think. And anytime I talk about the records, it is left out of the conversation, and I don't know why. So we're just gonna get into it. But this record obviously was around, it came out in 2017. So it's been a hot minute. And I remember where I was when this record came out. And I think for me, this record was one of those, it's like an 80s synth pop, almost like a Talking Heads, which I know a
Mhm.
lot of Paramore fans probably like Justine, like we probably
Yep.
like that. A lot of the Paramore fans, I guess, probably have no idea who the Talking Heads are. They
Well, they
wanted to
might now that covered them and the movie that had come out with it.
Right, maybe
Maybe.
now, but I remember
Mhm.
when this record came out, everybody was like, "What is this? Like, what is going on?" So you're right. Maybe people's opinion has changed on this record because of them doing that, and I think that's really cool where you see that. And I remember hearing this sound, and I was like, "This is perfect. I don't want Riot Part Two." I know we've talked about Paramore before, where like
Mhm.
they've done that, and I think a lot of times when we think about artists, we're not the same people we were 5 years ago. They're not. They're humans at the end of the day. So yes, maybe we want Riot Part 2, especially if you missed out on that era of Paramore. But I'm really excited to talk about this record because this is my one of my favorite eras of Paramore because it this record got me through such a difficult time, such a hard time. And yeah, I could just go on and on about this record. But Justine, I think I know where you found out about this record, but where did you find out about this record? What are your thoughts? And just or maybe what are your thoughts when you first heard it, and even like today, maybe that changed.
Before I get into that, we've got to mention the fact that you rated the albums that Paramore did online, and people thought you were rage baiting.
Oh my, so right now, that one is at
It caused a lot of reactions from
it's
people.
like 17K. Like honestly, I don't
Yeah.
I don't have anyone that knows us. Like I don't have a lot of pull on TikTok. I'm finally above 400 followers, but I'm so glad you brought that up because I was gonna bring that
Yeah.
up too.
We have to talk about that on here because it's so funny.
People one said I was rage baiting.
A
Two
lot of
also said
reactions.
I was rage baiting. Two that I was a new fan of like recently. And I think it was wild when I would bring up and I was like, hey, no, like I was on the Paramore Street team. I've been a
Yeah.
fan since like they started. I mean, not in what they did in Tennessee, but like once they were out there. And yeah, that was a really hilarious moment. And I was just like,
Really funny.
you're just not as broken as I am. That's all I
And
have to say. That's all I have to say. I love this record. It's so good. And yeah, that
I
is like
just,
one of my funniest moments on TikTok.
it was really funny because, like, I knew, like, either of us telling our true rankings of the albums would get a lot of
Hmm.
intense feelings because we both kind of had the same feelings as people that have been with Paramore since the beginning, where it's like, Riot's not either of our number ones.
No. Or even,
But, like,
yeah.
so many people, I think even our age, like they really only got into Riot and that was it. So it's like there's no true validity in that, as if you only really care about Riot. Whereas if you actually care about the band as a whole, then yeah, you're gonna love every album just in a different way. So it's just, I just think it's really funny how we knew
The,
that that's a huge reaction would happen though.
the
Like,
controversy that I never knew that like that silly thing. And everyone that knows me, like I don't do the cool rankings that people do. Like
yeah.
I'll just do a slide. Like I do slides because one, I'll be honest, I'm a little lazy, but I had no idea that that little 5 second thing in Adobe where it's like I got to make content. And I love Paramore. I had no idea. And like there's some folded comments in there that were like pretty nasty, like too, that like
Yeah.
people didn't see. And yeah, no, I'm like, and then I will say before I let you talk about this record that
Yeah.
there were some people, as much as people gave me shit for it,
Yeah.
a lot of people were after laughter stands. So I was really
Hmm.
excited to,
Yeah.
as much as I did get a lot of shit, there were a lot of people that were like, oh my gosh, yes, I love the love for
Yeah.
after laughter. So I was really excited about that too.
That's why I felt like we really needed to do an episode standalone on the album because I'm like,
Mhm.
for one, I've been noticing lately on TikTok that it's starting to get a little more traction again.
Yeah.
And also just because of the big reaction that people had. with the ranking. Like,
Woo.
I think it really goes to show, like, again, like, if you're a true fan, you're not gonna like only one album. Like,
No.
I'm sorry. And like, yeah, you might have an attachment to that for nostalgia factors, or if you're like one of the younger kids getting more into the scene, because that's the one that that's the one that stands out from the time era. But like, as for me, and I know a lot of other people probably as well, like for me, it's like they've aged exactly how they should be, and I kind of think every album they put out has been better than the last.
Hmm.
So like,
Yeah.
and I'm also somebody who honestly thinks All We Know Is Falling is better than Riot. And that's also kind of a weird, touchy subject for people.
So not only that, it's funny you bring up that because I got shit because of where I ranked All We Know Is Falling and Riot, but it was just again,
Yeah.
but I agree with you. I think Riot, I know we're talking about After Laughter, guys. We'll get to the record, but like for
Yeah.
Riot, I'm the same way of like that that one was obviously the most popular and what
Yeah.
gained them and like boom, full speed
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
But musically, when you really look at it, like
Yeah.
there are just more like I think are
If
more.
if you go back through all their discography and listen to everything over again, which I do a lot anymore, but like it hits differently, especially if you're going back and listening to it as an older person.
Mhm.
You get kind of a different kind of perspective on it. Whereas if you're only thinking about how you felt in the initial time when it came out, you're gonna feel a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, if your only like thing is to like feel about a way towards Paramore because of Misery Business, and
Yeah.
you're 37 like me right now, and that's the only thing that you think is good for Paramore, it's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. Like, you should be able
Mm-hmm.
to listen to stuff where they're actually older and closer to your age and get it a little more, or go back and listen to it a little differently. It's just there should be a different perspective on it. But and again, I'm a huge Paramore fan. I love all the albums, but I do think that Riot's a little bit too hyped up based on nostalgia and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily based on everything as a whole.
No, I mean, yeah, here's the cancel. People are gonna
And
cancel.
people are gonna hate us.
Um, but
They're
obviously,
gonna be like, this girl's sitting here in a Haley Williams
I
t-shirt. And
know.
he says that. Oh.
Oh man. Um, so obviously, like, man, yeah, Riot's another one we should talk about. But for you,
Yeah.
obviously, we're here with After Laughter, and well, you got your Haley shirt on. I got the
Got my
purple
Haley shirt.
background. Got the purple background for Haley Williams here. No, I did not paint my new house, my new room purple. That would have been cool, but I didn't.
Although you should,
I
but it's
know.
fine.
I know. I should have now looking back. So yeah, where did you first discover After Laughter? After, like you said, you were such a, I mean, I know you're such a huge fan. And what were your thoughts on After Laughter?
So I kind of fell out for a bit when the self-title came out. Like,
Hmm.
initially, I was just kind of neutral on it. It's not that I hated it, and it's not that I was like super pumped for it. I was just kind of like, eh. And of course, at the time, I had people around me, which we won't talk about specifically, but they kind of very much dictated what I listened to. So, like, around that time, especially, I was not being directed towards the new albums coming out from them necessarily. And when I found out about After Laughter, it had probably been out for a hot while. Like, I remember seeing it, I was like, I don't remember that album. Like, when did
Hmm.
that come out? I don't remember it. And then I put on one song, and I don't remember which song it was. And I did not like it. I didn't like it at all.
Oh, get out of here right now, Justine.
I really didn't.
Get out of here. No,
I
I'm just I'm joking.
I like we said, it's like it's a little different. It's not so different that it's
Hmm.
like, why did they go in that direction? But it was different enough that if you had fallen out at all for a bit with them, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you heard this, like I did out of nowhere, you're just like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah.
And I wish I remember which song it was specifically, because it's well, it's probably one of my favorites now. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
But I just remember not really liking it. I was like, that's really weird. And then I didn't really think about it again until we had our Paramore episode.
Hmm.
And you had talked about how you loved it
Oh.
and like brought up like what has happened in time whenever they brought the album out and everything with Haley and suggested that I listen to it again. And so obviously I sat down, I listened to it, and now I obsessively listen to it because it's so relatable. And I'm just like a lot of other people. This is what another reason why I really wanted to have this episode, this standalone episode for the album. Because if you were like me and you really were just like, no, I don't like this album at all, I'm begging you, go
Mhm.
back and listen to it again now that you're older and it's been out for a little while because your perspective might drastically change like it did for me.
Oh yeah, like and that's the thing. So I remember I've always brought this album up to people because and I'll get into how I found it and impacted, but like one of the things when I was looking into this record was like in the New York Times around this time, Haley was saying she didn't even know if the band was going to make a record. She didn't even know if she wanted to at that time. That something was just like, no, I want to do this. Let's do this. And this is what came to be. And I remember much like you, I fell off Paramore for a little bit. I love Brand New Eyes. I love the self-titled. I loved all those things, but it was something about for me what I was going through when I found this record. So obviously 2017, I had just moved across country, lived in New Jersey, was in one of the worst mental states of my life. And I know a lot of people would say, "Oh my gosh, you just moved across country with the love of your life at the time." Well, he still is, but at that moment, like so it's one of those things of I was really going through it away from my
It's still a
friends.
big shock to your
Oh,
system.
it still, and I'm still
Yeah.
here, and it's still, and like, I think I'm finally in that phase where, okay, I love New Jersey now, where like it took a while, and it was one of those things of like, I had no friends, and no offense to my boyfriend's friends, wives, girlfriends, whatever, they don't listen to this, I don't give a shit. So, but they're one of those things that like, they're not my kind of people. And so for me, I had nobody, and no friends, no anything, working a shitty job and living in the tiniest room I could on the East Coast with my boyfriend. And it was really hard. And I remember when I heard this album come out and I heard Hard Times. And I was like, and I know we'll get into our favorite songs later, but like for me, hearing Hard Times and that lyric of like walking around with my little rain cloud. And it's one of those things that like that's my next tattoo. We've talked about that where
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
getting this tattooed on me, a little rain cloud.
And it's
And
really funny because we both want an after laughter related
yes,
tattoo.
we need, and as like I want to go get that and I want to do that. And it was one of those things of really hearing about it. And then shortly after this was released, you heard about her divorce, the very public, as far as the music
Yeah.
scene, it was very public. And it was one of those things for me that again, I was in this relationship, but I was really questioning a lot of things. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, am I in the right place, the right time? Is this what I want? Oh my gosh, I want to move to the East Coast. And this record was like my little hug. It was
Mhm.
literally like I'm speaking to you with tracks like Fake Happy. Speaking to you about grudges. I'm speaking to you with Tell Me How, Told You So. I Rose Colored Boy, which I know we'll get into like that. Oh my
Mhm.
God, that song. But like it was just something about this record that really grabbed me at a time when I was at my lowest. And I loved that it was almost like
Mhm.
that semi-charmed kind of life where it's like poppy. And if you really
Yeah.
listen to it, that's what a lot of this record is like the most happiest, depressing record.
I
And
feel
I,
like that's when it's the best, is when
Mhm.
you can tackle really deep, dark types of subjects with
Yeah,
sounding really happy.
yeah.
I
And
love when that happens.
And for me, also, it was the most thing where I know that Haley Williams again was on record on one of the interviews I was listening to of saying that she realized she was not doing well in her mental health when writing Hard Times.
Yeah.
And I think for me, again, we never really heard Haley speak on her mental health or things like that until this came out.
Yeah.
So it was really, really just one of those things for me where this record just really resonated with me. And I think I'm so glad they made it. I'm glad the changes they took on it. And I guess if you're listening to this and you're hearing us gush about it, go back to it. And again, maybe you just weren't as messed up as I was at the time. And maybe that's why you didn't resonate with it. But maybe right now in the current climate of the world, you want to
Yeah.
listen to this record because it's so good. I will shout from the rooftops. After Laughter is so, so good. And obviously, so there are so many mental health undertones, obviously, in this one. So I'll carry on to what I was talking about with Fake Happy. But it was especially like those lyrics of like, if I smile with my teeth, think you believe it, think I'll believe me. And then those like, you think I look all right with those mascara tears. And it was so many things where I remember at that time, New Year's Eve, and it was like end of the year came out, and like it was like, oh, these are the songs, like not Spotify Wrapped, but it was something like these are the end of the year songs. And I put Fake Happy, and I remember I posted it, and I was like, this is my anthem of this year. And the music video, and people were like, are you okay? I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And yeah, maybe we should talk about it. Like, and that still, whenever I am down, I am really in it and I need to sit with something, I put on Fake Happy. And I think it's so like relatable to all of us that put on that front of we're okay, we're fine when we're not. And I think that it's at the end of the day, it's just such a good song. But that's forever my anthem. And again, maybe people will ask me again if I'm okay, and I will always tell you no. And I think it was so relatable because how many times have we all, when we're in it, we go out, we think we're gonna do it, we're just gonna like put on that front, and maybe we wish we hadn't, or we feel a certain way. I mean, it's so relatable. So anyone that says this record sucks, go to that song, tell me how. Again, this record for me with After Laughter, Haley Williams's voice is the best it's ever been on this record, in my opinion. And again, the lyrics and the songwriting on this, again, like that kind of, these are really dark and depressing songs, but here's a poppy way of doing it. Especially like of the lyrics, like out of all the weapons you fight with, your silence is the most violent. Come on, people. Like that lyric right there. Come on. Like if you've been through any relationship, anything, and you can feel that and you feel it the way she sings it too, and I really do. Obviously Hard Times, we already talked about that. Rose Colored Boy, I have to talk about that one because when I did the original Paramore episode with my former co-host, which nobody got to listen to, I dove into this big thing about my relationship about Rose Colored Boy. But then we did a revamped version. So I'll go back to that one because that was when Justine joined and it was well done and it was great. But we did the Paramore episode, and Rose Colored Boy for me was again my lifeline. It was one of those things that and it's getting dark in here, so now I'm even more purple, but whatever. So with Rose Colored Boy, it's like, just let me cry a little bit longer. I'm not gonna smile if I don't want to, my Rose Colored Boy. And that was my boyfriend and now fiance at the time. So we made it out. We made it through that phase in our relationship. But I think it was one of those things like I said, I found this record very difficult time. He did not know about my mental health state, or how to handle that. And would always just kind of be like, not, I don't want to put him on that, like, get over it. It's okay. And I would put on Rose Colored Boy because he was my rose colored boy. He was that guy. And again, he doesn't listen to this, so like I don't need to worry about that. But it was one of those things of like, wow, somebody is conveying to me what I'm thinking in my own mental health, in my own rut, and that my partner is just wanting me to put on a face of like, it's okay, or just like get over it. And I think now where we're at, it's like, wow, I'm so glad he's not the rose-colored boy anymore. But at that time, it was everything I needed. Oh, it's so good. And like after we record this, I know I'm gonna like crank it up again because I just love this song. And then of course my last one, I have to talk about, I don't think necessarily mental health undertones in it, but I just want to highlight No Friend. Aaron Weiss of Me Without You is in it. And I know a lot of people be like, oh, he's mumbling in it. You don't hear him. Who's Me Without You? Me Without You
We
is
need to talk
so
about Me Without You at some point.
yes, Me Without
We
You
really do.
is one of, I know Justine, probably yours too, one of my favorite bands of all time. And I know for Haley as well. And getting to collaborate also, she did a song. Is it Fox Flume? I gotta look it up. But she does a track on a Me Without You record. And obviously he returned the favor on this record. It was a big deal for Haley Williams to have Aaron Weiss on here. And so no Aaron Weiss slander, no saying you don't like No Friend. I remember Haley saying she wanted to do this different song, and it is the different song on this record. but I think it just shows the importance of, and I don't want to speak for Haley, but maybe during that time she was seeking comfort in some of those musicians or mute or just music in general that's really important to her. And I was just so happy for her that she got Aaron Weiss and got to do that again and partner with him because I know how big of a Me Without You fan she is. And yeah, that's my after laughter. Listen to this record. It is so good. There are 10 million other songs I could have picked. Grudges is another one. But yeah, Justine, I gotta know you because I don't think we've ever really openly talked about the tracks you love on this record.
Well, before I get to the tracks, I wanted to talk a little bit about the mental health kind of undertones and having that kind of, experience with it. Because I honestly felt like I found this album and actually sat with it more
Mm-hmm.
when I was supposed to. Because for me, all these years later, I'm in a place to understand it a lot better. Because
Mm-hmm.
when it came out, I was still with my abusive ex had been cheating on me. Um, I was still married. I was still in a very manipulated space. And to understand it now that I've been divorced from that person and I'm now married to somebody who is amazing. And I'm still, obviously, because I was with that person for a very long time, I'm still processing everything that I have gone through after all those years. And Haley's honesty and openness with this album is so important to anybody who is going through that shame that you go through after divorce. And it's like, no matter if it's very obvious, like there was cheating and abuse, you still have a big amount of shame that comes with it. And I think anybody who has gone through divorce knows what I'm talking about because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if you're somebody who divorced like me 12 years after it, or you're somebody who had been together a shorter amount of time, whether you're somebody that had kids with that person or not, there is just this overwhelming guilt and shame when it comes to a failure of something that was official like that. I think it's really helpful that this album exists for people that have been through that kind of thing. Because I mean, not only is it a great album, but it's also for somebody that has been through, that trauma of an abusive partner and divorcing, but it's also a great album that has a late diagnosed person,
Mm-hmm.
because you kind of deal with that same kind of like, who am I? And trying to look back at your past kind of situation. And if you feel like you're in a mental health crisis or anything of the sort, and you have not gone back to this album or you haven't heard this album ever, I think it's super important to go back and listen to this album because it is, and I mean it, this is a very great album to help you heal.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like when I first had heard it, like, that's why I think I was meant to find it when I was able to sit with it,
Yeah.
and me and Lisa had this conversation a lot. I talked to her a lot about how the universe ends up putting things on your path the way they're supposed to end up. So for me, Lisa was meant to help me find this in the midst of healing,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's been a hot minute since it had come out, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And I think that's why another big push why we both really wanted to be able to talk and have this standalone episode for it. It's for people to understand that, like, is it different than, say, Riot? Yes, absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean you shouldn't sit with it.
No, and I love that for you and I love that we both it was a different kind of healing and a different kind of thing for the
Mhm.
both of us. And I love what you kind of shared about divorce because I
Yep.
was recently reading something because first of all, like I'm so happy where you're at today and being a little snapshot of where you were, like not knowing the full scope and then now seeing where you're at. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people, a lot of us elder emos or whatever, millennials, anyone
Yeah.
listening to this, there is a lot of shame in it sometimes. And I
Hmm.
think I
Yeah.
love I read this thing the other day and it kind of like when you were speaking about that of like, hey, we celebrate birthdays, we celebrate this and that. Why don't
Hmm.
we celebrate when a friend, leaves a bad relationship. And even if
Yeah.
it's a divorce, like, hey, get them a cake or like celebrate that. And I think we need to,
So funny
I think
story.
we need to be like that because like things like that,
Yeah.
you should be so praising your friends when
Oh,
they get out of
definitely.
a relationship like that. Like it's so important for us. And you should not be, if anyone listening to this is divorced, got divorced,
Yeah.
there's no
Are in the
shame in that,
process.
or in the process,
Yeah.
separated, whatever it is, or thinking like, hey, I'm not happy in this relationship. You can
Hmm.
take it from Haley. Like she speaks on this.
Yeah.
Like honestly, and I was not married, but I was in a horrible relationship before. There is no shame in that. You have to do what's best for you and what's
Yeah.
best for your family if there's family involved.
Hmm.
Things like that. Your mental health and things like that come first. And even if you hear this little bit and you're just like, oh, okay, whatever, maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll apply to you, but like you don't need to stay in
Yeah.
a relationship or marriage if you're not happy. And again, I know it's easier said than done. There are a lot
Yeah.
of hoops,
Yeah.
there's a lot of safety issues, but I'm just saying like even you saying that, like I think it's so important to just be your best self, even if that's
Yeah.
without, with or without. And I know maybe even the older generation will tell you, no, we don't do divorce in this family. No, you do it if you need to.
It's
That's my
one
TED
of those
talk.
things too. Like I think the reason why there's so much shame around it, and no matter what happened to you, it's still shameful, is because like we're millennials,
Hmm.
for instance. Like before us, you have, like most of millennials, for the most part, have parents that were the boomer generation. And in that generation, there wasn't divorce.
No.
And the fact is, I don't think so many people realize the fact that like you weren't even technically able to get divorced,
Hmm.
and like women couldn't have a credit card account or their own bank
No.
account until, oh my gosh, the 70s, I believe. And so I think a lot of that shame comes from like seeing this world of like, no, you don't get divorced. Like it
Hmm.
is shameful. Like you're supposed to be married. It's this like, holy thing that like it should be a one and done kind of thing. And it's just like what happens with a lot of prior generations where it's like you have this fairy tale kind of setup about how life is supposed to be, and it's not necessarily how life is supposed to end up
Hmm.
exactly, like a lot of people's fairy tales are not going to be like you're going to be in love with your high school sweetheart and you're going to stay with them forever. That's not always the case.
No.
And I think if anything that's been good from our generation is the fact that we have been very much pro therapy and like pro divorce when it needs to be. But that
Hmm.
doesn't make it any less icky, because you're still going to have those older generations want to shame you whether you know you did the right thing or not. And that's
Yeah.
why, like, me and Lisa both worked in childcare. And anytime I had any families talk to me about how they were getting divorced or anything, I made sure to let them know how proud of them I was of them for what they were doing. And especially ones that were really, you could tell, were trying to put in the work to stay good co parents, regardless of it. And I think that more people should celebrate that. And like you said, it's really funny that you brought up like getting a cake
Hmm.
for divorcing. When my divorce was official and I had got the paperwork in the mail,
Hmm.
me and my best friend, she got me a big cheesecake, and we sat and ate cheesecake and watched the Golden Girls to celebrate. So
Yes. Like we
I
need to
did
do that.
celebrate.
We need to do that. And
Yeah.
I think, and listen, I'm a child of divorce.
Yeah.
A not great divorce. And I think it's one of those things that like you have to just also like you really do have to now understand that like we only get one life.
Yes.
And honestly, like even like I've always said, I love my relationship now. He's not a rose-colored boy anymore, this and that. But like there were moments in my 10 years of that, of you really do take a look at
Hmm.
yourself and
Yeah.
you grow with people, and the person you're with is not the same person, much like Haley had talked about her relationship. And I think that's what helped me heal too, like obviously in a different way, but it helped me heal through some things of like, listen, you can get into certain relationships you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I love that she became open about that because a lot of people always wanted to know what happened between her and Chad. And if you listen to some of her solo work, you can kind of get the gist. But I also love how she's never really been so open
Yeah.
to throw him under the bus when I'm sure that she could. Also, that she's respected that. But
Yeah.
also in her solo work, I mean, listen to Simmer. Like, come on. Like, honestly, I know this is after laughter, but like, there's a lot of things that got off the chest and like, Dead Horse. Oh my God, that one. But anyways, that's another thing too. Her solo work is incredible. And I just want to
Yeah.
set the record straight. Any boy on TikTok that has said that this work and beyond, and this is why, it's just her solo work. Go
Hmm.
listen to that
Yeah.
and listen to this. No, Paramore is a band
Yep.
forever.
Yep.
Mic drop, done. Justine,
Hmm.
what are those favorite songs? I gotta know because like yeah, I don't
Okay.
think we've ever talked about this.
I don't think as a whole from the album we've never talked about it, but
Yeah.
you obviously know because my hopefully future Paramore tattoo is gonna involve this. Is Fake Happy's my
Mm-hmm.
number one.
Yeah.
Fake Happy's my number one. There's just no better song that perfectly describes having autistic masking
Mm-hmm.
and having to hide your actual emotions because people don't really know how you're doing. It's just that song just perfectly just embodies the autistic experience, especially with masking and societal expectations. It's just I
Yeah.
love it. Chef's kiss. I love singing Hard Times at the top of my lungs.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like when it comes to this administration. It's a really good song to lean on during these times. Rose Color Boy is another one. It's another one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's another one where it's like I don't care if I look like a Debbie Downer. If I'm struggling, I'm not going to fake being okay. And then if you are able to listen to Caught in the Middle without doing
Oh,
that little dance,
I freaking forgot about Caught in the Middle. Oh my God. No, you're right. I've been trying to do a TikTok for that and trying to get it down.
okay.
But
Oh yeah.
like, I'm like, I have no rhythm. But so we have to maybe work on that and maybe do it. Maybe we can stitch it or I don't know, duet it or whatever it's called these
Oh my
days.
gosh.
But
I
no,
love
yes.
it.
Oh my God. Caught in the Middle is so good. Oh, wow.
I love it. But yeah, it's really funny because it's like, how can you not like this album and then not like her little dance ditty? Like, come on.
Listen,
It's so much fun.
like, I'm trying to look. Okay. All right. So, did you have any more favorites?
No, that's it. But I
Okay.
just want to make sure that I beg and plead that you don't just assume that you don't like this album because
Yes.
you could just be like me, where at first you're like, that's a little off, that's a little different. And then don't go back to it again. Because again, like, especially
It's,
if, you're like me and then like, it's been like, oh my God, what? It's been almost like 10 years almost since
yeah.
yeah.
It's wild to think about that. Like, it's
Like,
been, that's,
trust me, like being older and going back to this album is just makes it so much better.
oh, and like, again, I could probably list every song because now, like Forgiveness is another one.
Hmm.
Um, and Pool for me, I just want to bring that up really quick to anyone that doesn't
Yeah.
know. Haley Williams uses a lot of water metaphors for love and her relationships. You have Pool, you have, oh my gosh, hang on. Oh, I should have wrote this down. And this is why there's in Liar, there's a couple different songs that all fit together. And I need to write this down for anyone. There's a trilogy of songs that there's Pool and Liar, and then This Is Why. And then there's another one.
Mhm.
Oh, it's gonna bother me. Hang on. I'm just gonna get this out of here. Hang on. Let me do. So there are three songs. So technically someone's gonna kill me because I'm like
Oh no.
Paramore and they're not her solo work. However, there's Pool, Crystal Clear, which Crystal Clear is a solo one, and Liar. And they all use water references. And Haley has been really said to use water references in love. Obviously, pool, she's underwater. And that's that relationship with he who shall not be named or newfound
Mhm.
glory. I love newfound glory. Don't kill me, guys. But anyways, so that and then crystal clear and then liar and things like that. And you listen to them and they all have a meaning. So I love that about Paramore, and there's little Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could have picked any of them. I think Grudges was one of those too. It's just lyrically fun, and I think yes, there are moments of mental health in this, but it's just really, really good. And yeah, I agree with Justine. If you didn't give this a fair chance, if you didn't like this record, go back to it because it is so good. And I think you just have to be in the right mindset and
Yeah.
space to really dive into it. Again, I was in a horrible place and I
Mhm.
was there. And I think listening to it now, I can still jump back. And then other times I
Mhm.
can come back and be like, okay, now I can resonate with this part of it where I didn't. But
Mhm.
also, it's fun, it's dancey. There's
Yeah.
lyrics in there that you can resonate with. And it is some of Paramore's best work, and Haley sounds the best she has on some of the records. So if you
Oh yeah.
disagreed, let us know. If you loved it, let us know.
You,
At
it's
the same
okay to
time,
have, you can talk about how you believe in the wrong opinion, but it's okay. You
mhm.
can still share with
Listen,
us.
go look at my rating on TikTok and let me know.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so obviously we wanted to highlight this one, and yeah, and I think
Yeah.
all that needs to be done is that we do talk about Me Without You at some point. We have
Mhm.
to get
Yeah,
that
we need
going
to.
because it's such an important band, and if
I
I'll
haven't
tag
listened to
them.
them in years and
Oh,
I need to go back to them. So,
yes, yes, they're oh, so good. But obviously, if you
mm,
love Paramore, I'm going to tag Paramore below. I know you know where they are, but if you just want that quick link to check out this record. And as for us, new episodes every Tuesday. We will be back. I may do every other week. I don't know. I have a lot coming on. There are a lot of guests, but obviously I am in my new space. So it could get a little tricky. Even like recording this, Justine was so great and like working around me because it's been chaos. But we have this. And obviously, if you are loving this one and maybe it's your first time, leave a positive rating or review. It goes such a long way, not only for our show, but shows like ours. Maybe you'll find your new favorite podcast. So before I let everybody go and we see each other next week, I want to talk about a couple podcasts. I want to share. I've been doing it on TikTok. TikTok's been doing it too, the little
yeah,
community. So I want to shout out the Emo Kids Anonymous. That's Rob and Amanda. Rob, I've had on the show.
yeah,
Amanda's
we
like a
love them.
Amanda's like a
They're
Fall Out
great.
Boy fanatic. So right up everyone's alley. Obviously, our space media, Matt Patisse, TJ,
Yes.
Matt Patisse in general is wonderful. And then Cosmic Cadence, which we're gonna have them on. I didn't even tell you, Justine, but they're
Okay,
two
cool.
wonderful girls, and it's really, really cool, and I'm really excited. Girls at the Rock Show pod because they've been doing really cool things. And they've come such a long way when they started, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of growth there, and I really love to see it. And she's with the band with Tori Kravitz. Everybody knows Tori Kravitz, but it's an amazing podcast. And I hope I don't forget any others. But if I did, it's not that I didn't love you. Just, I don't know. I'm on a lot of caffeine right now trying to do this. But anyways, go check out these podcasts. They're amazing. And I wanted to shout them out. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.